Caution, if you're following the ketogenic diet, you're gonna wanna watch this video because I'm gonna outline 4 reasons why you don't wanna be in ketosis for too long and the problems that can occur in the body and how to practice keto flexing. Let's do this. Hey Keto Camper, Ben Azadi here, best-selling author and the founder of Keto Camp. This video is going to be very informative for anybody who's doing keto because I'm going to outline these 4 problems that can occur with long-term ketosis. We're going to talk about how long-term keto can impact your thyroid health, your testosterone health, estrogen, sex hormone binding globulin, and actually slow down your weight loss results. And then at the end of the video, I'm gonna give you 2 strategies to practice keto flexing that are outlined in my brand new book, Keto Flex, which actually just released today, and you can get this over at ketoflexbook.com. So without further ado, let's get into these 4 reasons why we don't wanna be in ketosis for too long. I know it could sound a little bit crazy coming from somebody like me who loves keto. I have ketosis on my shirt, my company's Keto Camp, but here's the deal. Keto is not a diet. Keto is a metabolic process, and guess what? It's been around since humans have existed. Every single one of our ancestors did keto, but when they had the opportunity, they flexed out of ketosis. They didn't see tubers and fruit and honey and say, oh, we don't eat that, bro, we're keto. No, they would eat that, they would flex out and then go back into ketosis. The human body is designed to do that. We are still hardwired in all 70 trillion cells to go in and out of ketosis. So the goal here is to teach your body to burn fat as the primary fuel source, but not the only fuel source. You want to be able to shift back and forth between fat and glucose without a hiccup. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Before we get into those principles, let's start with the number 1 reason why we don't want to be in ketosis too long. Consuming a low amount of carbohydrates over the long term is a good thing. It will cause your body to burn excess body fat and improve your overall health. But there's one important caveat. A constant, unrelenting state of ketosis in which your body is burning its own fat for fuel is obviously unsustainable. Why? Because eventually you'd have no more fat to burn. Well, I'm going to explain why this keto lifestyle should be a lifestyle and not just a strict diet that is not sustainable. My mantra is, lose the excess fat, treasure the necessary fat. Ketosis is a brilliant strategy for accomplishing the first goal. As for the second goal, prolonged ketosis doesn't have an automatic shutoff valve. If you remain in the state of ketosis for too long, burning your own fat, then your body will keep doing that as long as it must do to stay alive. If necessary to preserve life, once your excess body fat is gone, various bodily functions will shut off or become minimized. This process of shutting down will continue until Mr. Death knocks on your door and says, sorry buddy, time's up. Nobody wants that. Let's start with the first reason why we don't want to be in ketosis for too long. Fat burning will slow down. Here's why. As levels of body fat drop, your primal brain, whom we thought we had trained to accept high-fat diet and fasting, will be aroused and begin to object. Why and when will this happen? Well, your primal brain, the eternal watchdog, will sense that your reserves of fat are becoming depleted. Remembering those long periods of deprivation thousands of years ago, your primal brain will sound the alarm. The fat supply is running low. It will issue the command that your body must preserve its precious fuel source. In response, your body will actually slow down fat burning, all for the sake of survival. When you stay in ketosis for too long, the body starts to rebel and conserve its fuel source. A good analogy for you is if you lived out in the woods and you stored about 500 logs of firewood to heat up your cabin for the winter. These were your reserves because you could still go out and chop more firewood. So if you had to dip into these reserves, you wouldn't be worried. But now it's early March and snow still covers the ground. It's been a tough winter and you haven't harvested many trees. And you see that you've only got about 50 logs left. That's a very low supply. Suddenly you're reluctant to use them because you don't want to run out. When you had 500 logs, you didn't care about burning them. The same thing happens with your body fat. This is why when you stay low carbohydrate for too long, your body will slow down fat metabolism. And you know what? This is a good thing. There's a big difference between losing excess fat and losing all your fat. You want to lose excess fat, but your body needs a small amount of fat, and your primal brain is smart to insist that you meet this minimal requirement. So the innate intelligence will actually insert water into the cells to slow down fat metabolism, and you might develop this dimply fat around your midsection when you're in ketosis for too long. Not good. So what happens is having a Keto Flex day, and I'm going to show you 2 ways to do that later on in the video, but having a Keto Flex day introduces your buddy coming over and dumping all this firewood for you. Now you're going to be more inspired to ramp up the burning. It's going to remind your body that it's not starving, that you have a different fuel source, which is going to be glucose, for a short period of time. So having a Keto Flex day and flexing out of ketosis is a great way to break a keto plateau, a keto stall, and ramp up the fat burning. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but I gotta tell you, it works like a charm. Second reason why we don't wanna be in ketosis for too long, this is especially important for you ladies out there, but also for men, thyroid problems. Hormone production is often a function of a chain of command, as orders are passed from one organ to another until the desired outcome is achieved. It's this amazing orchestra. For example, the hypothalamus and pituitary gland, which are located in the brain, help control the thyroid gland, which is a butterfly-shaped gland located at the base of your throat, just below the Adam's apple. To provide their direction to the thyroid, the hypothalamus releases thyrotropin-releasing hormone, TRH, which stimulates the pituitary gland to release thyroid-stimulating hormone, TSH. When the hypothalamus and pituitary are working normally, they respond. When thyroid hormone levels are too low, they secrete more TRH and TSH, which stimulates the thyroid to make more hormones. When thyroid hormones are too high, they secrete less TRH and TSH, which reduces hormone production by the thyroid. The primary secretory product is inactive, which is thyroxine, T4, which is a pro-hormone. This needs to be converted to T3 peripherally by the tissues with high blood flow, including the liver and kidneys. In the body, T4 is converted to T3, and that is used by the cells. The T3 hormone is important for fat burning, for longevity. It's so important that every single cell in your body has T3 hormone receptor sites. T4 can't say the same thing. It needs to be activated and converted to T3. Diet can influence thyroid hormone levels, and prolonged ketosis and severe calorie restriction can lead to reduced thyroid function or hypothyroidism, which is a mechanism to ensure survival in response to perceived famine. The goal is to slow down metabolism, preserve energy, and preserve vital organs. So we mentioned T4 is inactive. It needs to be converted to T3. Do you know which hormone helps make this conversion? Insulin. Low thyroid hormones cause a drop in insulin, the hormone needed to transport sugar from the blood to different cells throughout the body. Chronically low levels of insulin slow down cellular function, including muscle contraction and basic brain function. Over longer periods of time, low insulin levels compromise this T4 to T3 hormone conversion, which can cause you to feel sluggish. Your cells are producing less energy, you're burning less fat, you don't feel as good. So having a Keto Flex day will give you that healthy insulin spike to make these hormonal conversions, T4 to T3, but also help with progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone. Number 3 reason why we don't want to be in ketosis for too long, testosterone deficiency. There's a hormone called sex hormone binding globulin, SHBG. It's a protein, actually, made by your liver. It binds tightly to these 3 sex hormones found in both men and women, estrogen, DHT, and testosterone. SHBG controls the amount of testosterone that your body tissues can use. Too little testosterone in men and too much testosterone in women can cause problems. Factors such as sex, age, obesity, liver disease, hypothyroidism, all can change the level of SHBG in your blood. Hypothyroidism, for example, is when your thyroid hormone produces an insufficient amount of thyroid hormones, which can happen with prolonged ketosis. What I've seen reviewing lab work over the years is too much SHBG leads to lower testosterone levels, and not enough SHBG leads to an increase in estrogen. Both can be problematic for men and women. Long-term ketosis can lead to either of these problems, so we want to balance that out with a flex day. Before I get to the 4th reason why we don't want to stay in ketosis for too long, if you're getting any value from this video so far, I'm sure this is a lot of aha moments for you already. hit the thumbs up button on this video and make sure you subscribe to the Keto Camp YouTube channel and hit the bell so you're notified when we release a new video or go live. I can't wait to get into some of the keto flexing principles I have outlined in my book. Before I do, let's talk about the fourth reason we don't want to be in ketosis for too long. Leptin resistance can occur in a unique way when you're in ketosis for too long. Leptin is your stop eating hormone that plays an instrumental role in your hunger and weight management. It comes from the Greek word leptos, meaning thin. Fat cells produce leptin in proportion to levels of body fat. The more fat cells you have, the more leptin you make. When your body fat increases, your leptin levels go up. Your brain senses the increase in leptin and thinks, okay, we've got enough fat in reserve, we can stop eating. Thus, you eat less and burn more. Conversely, when you don't eat and your body fat decreases, leading your leptin levels to drop, your brain, sensing a shortage of leptin, thinks, you're low on your fat reserves, better find some food. At that point, you eat more and burn less. This negative feedback loop is similar to the control mechanisms for many physiological functions such as body temperature, breathing, and blood pressure. A properly working leptin system tells your brain that you have enough energy stored in your fat cells to engage in normal everyday metabolic processes. It leads to better brain function, memory, metabolic performance, mental sharpness, and coordination. And it can even affect the regulation of mood and emotion. This is wonderful, except that many overweight people suffer from leptin resistance, but the brain doesn't recognize it. Despite the abundance of leptin, the brain thinks there is too little leptin and orders the body to keep eating. This is obviously a bad situation, so the question is, what can cause it? Well, several potential mechanisms behind leptin resistance have been identified. Free fatty acids. Having elevated free fatty acids in your bloodstream may increase the fat metabolites in your brain and interfere with leptin signaling. Inflammation. I talk a lot about inflammation. Inflammatory signaling in your hypothalamus could also cause leptin resistance. Another issue here is having consistently high levels of leptin, similar to insulin, not a good thing. It may be that your brain gets accustomed to a constant flood of leptin churned out by your fat cells and becomes numb to it. It's kind of like you screaming at me, but if I had my fingers in my ears, I can't hear you. This is similar to what happens with diabetes and insulin resistance. The message is not being received. So what happens when you follow a low-carb keto diet that puts you in long-term ketosis? Perhaps paradoxically, many people do not suffer from an increase in appetite, as you might expect from falling levels of leptin. It's a little complicated, but the short version of the story is that leptin levels will drop, which would normally signal to your brain to start eating. But something else happens. Your brain becomes more sensitive to the effects of leptin. So a smaller amount of leptin packs a bigger punch. In addition, the brain's response to leptin is inhibited by inflammation, resulting in increased leptin resistance. Obesity increases inflammation, which increases the brain's numbness to high levels of leptin. Inflammation is dramatically reduced by sustained nutritional ketosis. The reduction in leptin resistance due to reduced inflammation adds to the brain's heightened sensitivity to leptin. In other words, a well-formulated ketogenic approach, exactly how I teach it in my Keto Flex book, the brain perceives a greater satiety response from leptin. This explains the paradox into why we see a decrease in appetite with nutritional ketosis. In order to achieve a sustained state of ketosis, you need to occasionally boost your levels of leptin and send the signal to your brain that higher levels of leptin are normal and that you need to keep eating. This is another reason why the flex part of Keto Flex lifestyle is so important. We never want your brain to think you're starving, but we also don't want it to forget about eating. So having a Keto Flex day reminds these receptor sites for leptin and activates them and helps them become more sensitive, which is the goal here. So now you understand 4 reasons why keto is not good for you long term. Let's talk about 2 ways to practice keto flexing. I outlined this in chapter 10 of Keto Flex. This book is out today. I also outline about 7 different strategies for keto flexing in this same chapter. The book is 311 pages of keto gold. Dr. Daniel Pompa wrote the foreword. It has been endorsed by Thomas DeLauer, Dr. Jason Fung, Dr. Ben Bickman, Dr. Mindy Peltz, and several other leaders in the keto and fasting space. So the first way to practice keto flexing, it's a 7-day protocol. You might be thinking, how long in ketosis is too long? Well, the way that I teach it in my book here, I outline the 4 pillars. Number 1, which is the first pillar, is called adapt. We're getting your body fat adapted. We're getting you into ketosis safely, no keto flu required. The second pillar is called fast. We're practicing intermittent fasting strategies. The third pillar is called phase. We're phasing out all anti-nutrients and actually practicing carnivore. Those 3 pillars is going to take you about 60 days, 60, and then you have unlocked the Keto Flex pillar. So that's how long, too long. 60 days in ketosis, and then we practice keto flexing. The first way to do it, this is a 7-day protocol. I like this approach for somebody when they reach this point in their journey who has about 5 pounds to lose, or maybe they already hit their goal weight. This is a good protocol for you. It's called the 5-1-1, developed by Dr. Daniel Pompa. 7-day protocol. Here's how it works. 5 days out of the week, you're going to be practicing your favorite intermittent fasting schedule. During your eating window, you're going to eat keto-friendly meals, keeping your total carbohydrates below 50 grams for the day, and you want to be in ketosis for those 5 days. Ideally, you don't want to eat more than 2 meals in your eating window on those 5 days. The first one, I should say, is your 24-hour water fast. I love a 24-hour water fast because you get more fat loss, more autophagy, and it really resets your gut. There was a great study, I wrote about it in my book, Keto Flex, a study at MIT that showed a 24-hour water fast strengthened intestinal stem cells. So you get this super gut healing restorative effect with the 24-hour fast. That 24-hour fast can be dinner to dinner, lunch to lunch, or even breakfast to breakfast. This leaves us to the final one in the 5-1-1, which is your Keto Flex day. On this day, you don't practice fasting. You're gonna have your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You're gonna lower your fat below about 30 grams for the day, and you're going to increase your healthy carbohydrates and protein to remind the body that it's not starving, to give it an alternate fuel source, which is glucose, and get insulin to make those hormonal conversions and to reset those receptor sites for leptin. So you wanna have about 100 to 150 grams of healthy carbs on this day, total for the day. And you also want to increase your protein. You want more of this mTOR pathway, which is an anabolic pathway. That's your flex day. And then if you've done this the right way, you should be right back into ketosis within 24 to 48 hours. That right there is true metabolic freedom and flexibility. Now there's a second way to practice keto flexing. It's called the 4-2-1 rule. It's a 7-day protocol. Here's how it works. 4 days out of the week, you're gonna be practicing your favorite intermittent fasting schedule. Whether that's a 16-hour fast or an 18-hour fast, it's up to you. During your eating window, you don't wanna have more than 2 meals. Make it keto-friendly meals, keeping your total carbs for those days below 50 grams. So you wanna be in ketosis. The 2 in the 4-2-1 is a 48-hour water fast where you just go, let's say, Monday night to Wednesday night. You wanna give yourself 48 hours of fasting, just water and some sea salt. That's gonna help you burn a lot of excess fat. That's gonna help you get more autophagy and heal the gut. This is a good protocol, the 4-2-1, for somebody who has about 10 pounds to 25 pounds to lose. The 1 in the 4-2-1, same rules apply. It's your Keto Flex day. Higher healthy carbs, no fasting. You wanna hit about 100 to 150 grams of healthy carbs, more protein, and keep your total fat for that day below 30 grams. I outline this in detail in Keto Flex, which you can order right now on paperback or Kindle and get it today. Head to ketoflexbook.com. In the book, I also talk about the 3-3-1 rule. There's also a chapter 12, all about how to do keto and fasting for women. There's a chapter on sleep. Look, I believe this is the greatest book on keto ever written. You're gonna love it. There's a link down below for you to get it. And if you do get it and read it, please leave it a rating and review on Amazon. If this video was helpful, thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't know, I have a 10-part series on keto where I really outline some of the protocols for following keto, whether you're a beginner or advanced. And you can watch that entire 10-part series by hitting the screen above. I'll see you in that next video.